because they've known either Dewey or Jessica for almost as long as I've known Jessica or anybody has known Dewey. So we're going to start with Amy, who has known Dewey for 32 years. So she's going to start, and Amy.
For those of you who don't already know, my name is Amy, and I'm Dewey's little sister. When I was first informed that I would be giving a toast, I pretty much tried to get out of it as politely as I could. Not that I wouldn't do anything for my brother, but how can I encapsulate our history, our bond, and my love for him in a mere toast? Plus, unlike my Uncle Gary, I hate public speaking, so excuse the notes. But I want to try to explain how happy, how relieved I am that Dewey has found Jess. So I'd like to tell you a story in 3 parts. 3 anecdotes that will hopefully shed some light on my relationship with my brother and how that has brought us to where we are today. Part 1, the bully. Part 2, the spelling bee. Part 3, the absent-minded Dr. Tran. Even though Dewey has always been the older, bigger brother, he has not always been the wiser one. Growing up, I often felt that the roles were reversed, that at times I was the elder sibling. You see, Dewey hasn't always been the charming, good-looking man that he is today. As a kid, he was quiet, he was a bit shy, and at times his little sister would have to come to his rescue while Dewey was learning to stand up for himself. Part 1, the bully. Let's set the scene. I'm in the 6th grade, Dewey's in junior high. He was always Mr. Smarty Pants and was being bused to the arts magnet school where apparently he wasn't making many friends. Our parents would drop us off at my school where Dewey would then wait for his bus into the city with his fellow students. One of these students was an 8th grader named Jeff, who I knew had been bullying Dewey. One morning, after my parents had dropped us off, everyone was milling around, getting ready for class. I look over to the bus stop, and what do I see? But Dewey putting his dukes up, getting ready to fight. I guess Dewey had had enough of just bullying. Bullying. Sorry. I didn't waste any time, didn't even have to think it over. I knew what I had to do. Right there, right then, as my big brother is preparing to defend his honor in front of the entire school, I rush over to the scene, jump right on Jeff's back, and proceed to pummel him from behind. When the teachers came out to break up the fight, they find me with my arms around the bully's neck, trying to choke him, and Dewey watching from the sidelines, mortified. I would like to think that Dewey was indebted to me for this act of bravery, but of course, my good intentions only made Dewey the butt of even more jokes, only now about how his little sister had to fight his battles. I guess I was too young at that time to fully realize the complexity of the male ego. But at that moment in time, I knew that if it ever came down to it, I would always defend my brother. As far back as I can remember, I've always been overly protective of Dewey. As we got older, I came to realize it wasn't so cool to be so publicly adoring of your brother. But things weren't always that way. Part 2, the spelling bee. I was in the 5th grade at the time, and Dewey was in the 6th. We had both made it halfway through the final round, down to the 5 contestants, the last 5 contestants. I can still picture my mom proudly sitting in the audience. When Dewey's next turn came up, he misspelled his word and was eliminated. I was devastated. I completely lost it and freaked out on stage. It was my turn to spell my next word, but I was crying and heaving uncontrollably, right there into the microphone. I was just so upset that that was my brother's last chance to win the spelling bee, as he would be graduating that next year, and now that chance was gone. My breakdown lasted for a while. A recess had to be called, so that I could stop bawling. I didn't know what was going on in Dewey's mind. I didn't know whether he was embarrassed by me or felt pity towards me. But I do remember him coming up to me and trying to calm me down, saying that it was okay that he was eliminated, but I needed to continue. I did, of course, and won, by the way. But at that adolescence, I realized that our hopes and dreams for each other's happiness and success was the only thing that really mattered. Whether you already know my brother or are just starting to get to know him, one soon discovers that Dewey has a certain way about him, a je ne sais quoi, which brings us to part 3, the absent-minded Dr. Tran. As discussed, I've always been slightly overprotective of my brother, always looking out for his best interests, but for good reason.
Go, Amy!
Always lagged a little behind the rest of the crowd, usually the last one to get a joke, slow as one in crossing the street, and seriously lost in the romance department. My hope for my brother has always been that he'd find the perfect sidekick. Someone to hold his hand while crossing the street. Someone who appreciates his goofiness and thinks he's as hilarious as I do. So needless to say, when Dewey introduced me to Jess, I was thrilled that he scored such a wonderful, giving, and beautiful person. I don't know if I've ever seen my brother happier. I certainly have never seen him more giddy and affectionate than he's been with Jess. In fact, I never even knew my brother was a romantic. Not only do they complement each other and balance out one another, but their zest for life is inspiring to be around. But the moment I knew that they were a match made in heaven was when I saw their totally in sync, unrehearsed karaoke performance of Total Eclipse of the Heart. Jess, I'm so happy you found each other. Since the two of you have been together, I know that my days as the overprotective little sister are over. I trust that you would take care of my brother, and he would do the same for you. So here's to the both of you looking out for each other for a long time to come.
My prepared remarks are now down to a half an hour. Because if you think I'm going to try and follow that, you're crazy. The next person we'd like to have speak is Rima Shami. Rima has been Jessica's roommate her sophomore year, her junior year, her senior year, and was the co-head resident with Dewey. So as we like to say, Rima has made every important decision for Jessica. And so far, she's got them all right. So, Rima?
Amy, I can't believe you made me go second. All right. So, I'm Rima. I'm proud to say I've known Jess and Dewey since before they were known as Jess and Dewey. In fact, Dewey and Jess met at my 30th birthday party. I was lucky to meet Jessica during our first semester in college at Wesleyan, and I've known Dewey since our very first day of residency together. Jess and I have lived together. We worked at the same summer camp together. After college, I followed her to Washington, D.C., and I visited her in Africa. I'm constantly inspired by her work and how she does it with such dedication and style. Jess and I both have brothers, no sisters. So, to me, I'm shaking too much to read. She's my sister, which means, of course, that I love her like family, but also that we tell each other the truth, even when it's not so sweet. We argue. I know until recently not to eat any of her cooking. And she saves apples for me in her glove compartment on long trips so I don't get grumpy. She brought sweets the morning my daughter was born, and she's a doting aunt. Often I feel that things haven't happened until I get to tell Jess about them.